Hey everybody, Shane here, daily-astrocat.com. It's astrology time for Tuesday, the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, right? Okay, so besides being like, another one of those holidays where it's like eat lots of nachos and drink tequila or drink beer or something like that, we're going to talk about today's astrology because today's astrology involves our void of course moon in Sagittarius. Now, we told you yesterday that void of course moon was pretty good. Some people didn't even realize that there's such thing as a void of course moon, right? When does the void of course moon occur? Well, it's the last aspect the moon makes with a planet, right? Not counting Chiron, because Chiron doesn't count, nor does a quincunx, right? It has to be a sextile, has to be one of the Ptolemaic aspects. Not a sesquisquare or anything like that. Not that we even talk about those here, but they do exist. So, look, and it doesn't involve Chiron. So, it's that last aspect to when the moon actually enters a new sign. So, the moon will enter Capricorn today at 3:06 p.m. That's when the void of course ends. Just told you by definition, right? Void of course moons are normally bad times to start things or do anything, but this one in Sagittarius has been really good. We told you yesterday that the moon void of course is good in the Jupiter-ruled signs of Pisces and Sagittarius, and also good in the Cancer and in the place domicile and where it's exalted, and the moon is exalted in Taurus. So that's where void of course moons are good for us at, right? They can do very good things, not behave like a normal void of course moon where you would try not to do anything new, but you focus on some old stuff. That's in stark contrast to what we call focused moons, where there's no aspects and the moon is not void of course, but it actually has just that focus power because there's not a lot of cross chatter or anything like that. Now, why do we talk about the moon so much? Well, the moon affects tides, of course. It affects moods. It can affect our, physiology to some extent because we are water-based beings, right? So not only that, it just gives a general vibe of the day, the flavor of the day. And we found it to be pretty accurate as we've gone through the years. This is our 8th year. So let's talk about this. So yesterday's creative energy carries over and it gives rise to new forms of expression and cataloging creative output. Now, I got to tell you something. Yesterday, I told you I did some work on my website and I didn't think it worked. Well, after it had a little while to settle, it's beautiful, and I'm very happy with it, and I feel like I spent my time. It was a well-spent use of my time. Did I regret some of the nerdy aspects of it? Well, just a little bit. But and then again, I am a Virgo ascendant, so that's the kind of stuff it does appeal on a basic level, right? Somebody said that the older we get, the more we seem to identify with our rising signs as opposed to our sun signs. So that's a fair argument as far as I'm concerned. That can be very fair. So let's talk about this because something dumb is really possible today in the news, and I can feel it. I mean, there was some dumb stuff yesterday, but hopefully it won't be jeopardizing too many lives. Pluto is stationing retrograde and is barely moving, so that planet of change and revolution. Well, that's also Uranus, but Pluto is more disruptive change, right? It's a disruptive pattern that forms. It takes. It amplifies things or it reduces them, depending on where Pluto's at. Right now, Pluto stationing retrograde just means that influence is pretty strong, even though Pluto's just tiny and way the heck out there, right? Still doesn't matter what effect it has because it does have an effect. Where Pluto is square Mercury, we have to wonder if communication and transportation will come to the forefront once Pluto begins backtracking. Last aspect that it had, right? Communication or travel. We'll think about that now. The pressures, look, they're slight, but the results could be fantastic, okay? So what do we got today? Well, we've got some pressures. We got some stuff, right? We got some things that are going on. Now, maybe just that pressure with Mercury is enough to force you to be able to just revolutionize how you're reaching out to people across a broader spectrum, particularly socially, right? With that, I know for me, with that website under control now I'm looking, at various social media things, and for some reason, just exploded all over again, right? Particularly on Instagram. It's just crazy. And I deeply appreciate it. And I appreciate every share, every comment, and every time you send something to somebody or you repost it, it actually boosts that algorithm along. So if you want to help out the channel here and get more people to watch and join in the conversation with you, hey, it's fun, right? We used to do that way back in the day. There was a guy that had a radio show on one of the stations in Boston, and invariably it'd be like, oh, what day was today given? Oh, really? It feels this, it feels like that. There were conversations that were based on astrology that was readily available through public media. So that's interesting. Now, peer pressure, that's not going to be so good, right? Another drinking holiday, we don't need that. Cinco de Mayo, the moon square Neptune. The moon is square Neptune, and trust me, 2 tequila shots and no más, okay? No more than 2. Now, today's keyword is fingers crossed. So let's keep our fingers crossed that things that work out for you will work out for you. You got another day to get it to work, right? Let's do it. So the color is smoky blue. Now, barring any surprises, things should be pretty smooth. Don't worry about work things you might have missed. We got this moon in Capricorn tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to be able to catch up on that stuff, okay? Plenty of time and space to address these matters. With that being said, you can fling yourself wholeheartedly into what it was you were doing yesterday, okay? Yeah, just keep on going, right? Ignore the news. It's not going to advance your goals unless your goal is politics, is political in nature. If you aim to be that person that's going to change this stuff, power to you. But that's your goal. Now that I think about it, daily-astrocat.com is the home of astrology for the authentic soul. Now, ruminate on that non-statement, all right? The moon in Sagittarius is always up for a good time. In Capricorn, that good time is reined in just a little bit. So towards the end of the day, damper, which is going to be good because it's Tuesday, and who needs to go out and get hungover, right? Make sure you hydrate. That's one way to prevent that. Hopeful, creative, and later on focused. That's what we're going to be doing. So we're hopeful and creative at the beginning of the day, but afterwards we're going to be focused. We're going to be focused on the things that we need to catch up on and the things that we need to do to further this good feeling, right? This vibe, right? Because we're feeding something. We're feeding something bigger, and we can feel that. So the moon in Capricorn may be urging us to be a bit more temperate than the sun in Taurus would have us desire. Yep, it does. But you know what? If you give it to that too much, you're going to start feeling it and paying the price. The cantina and the tequila may be enticing, but it runs afoul of Neptune. So, if you see Neptune, you are clearly in the deep end. Okay. Hopefully, you know how to swim. And Neptune has many guises. It's difficult to get exactly who and what she is, right? Because misty, veiled, shifting, right? Is she the ocean that gave birth to Venus? This we may never know, because basically it's based in mythology, right? But as far as how Neptune interacts as a planet, we know a lot about Neptune, but we don't, because that's the nature of Neptune, right? It's like you can't know what's not knowable. It's like Pisces, right? Same thing. Ruler of Pisces, co-ruler of Pisces. Jupiter, expanding inward, limitless, right? Instead of expanding outward, we go inward with Pisces. That's a very interesting thing, and that's where the intuition and the all the clairs come into, clairaudience, clairvoyance, all of that stuff come into play. Now, the veil swirls around her, obscuring features and intentions. She represents what I like to call the 5D, alternative dimensions, carefully, and extreme creativity. I mean extreme, right? Poetry, acting, music, all that stuff. The spiritual realms and beyond. That's where it comes in, right? She's the last planet between us and our galactic points of origin. Last true planet, because we have Pluto and Oort cloud objects out there, but Neptune is that last true, before Pluto was busted down to a planetoid or dwarf planet. She represents that last point, and she represents passion for things that have no earthly container. So, in 1891, the music hall, now Carnegie Hall, opens in New York City with Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky as guest conductor of the New York Music Orchestra, Society Music Orchestra. And in 1914, our birth is Tyrone Power. He's an American actor, the mark of Zorro and Nightmare Alley. He's born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he died in 1958. And that is all I have for you. So let's talk about this. Send me your love. Send me some comments. I love hearts. I love little comments. I do respond back. Not so good at them on Facebook, unfortunately, because the Facebook doesn't really make it easy for me to be able to see them in a way that I can react to them quickly, because that's that Aries thing, right? That quick, needing to do it right away. All right, and that's all I have for you. So let's recap, shall we? Today's keyword is fingers crossed, and the color is smoky blue. Today is a 7. Happy astrocatting.